Okay, let's get started, conscious of time. First off, good afternoon, everyone. By way of quick introduction, for those of you who don't know, I am Kenneth Joquin, the Registrar of Companies. I'm here today to introduce the Registrar of Companies' new online registry system. Our system was designed by our vendor, Foster Moore, who are global experts at building government electronic registry systems. They have designed and implemented registry systems in New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, as well as several other jurisdictions. We commenced the build of Bermuda's new e-registry system about 2 years ago. It's been quite an extensive project. Most of you will have worked with our economic substance declaration system, which was also built by Foster Moore. So you would already be familiar with the basic and design and the layout of the system that we're going to present here today. There will be a total of 5 webinars. Today's introductory webinar will cover the introduction to the system, setting up an organization, and a user account, update profile services, authorizations, and top-up accounts. This webinar will be offered twice. The remainder of the webinars will focus on different aspects of the e-registration system. The industry notices that we've issued and circulated set out the dates, times, and topics of the subsequent webinars. Today, the Registrar of Companies and the Foster Moore teams are on hand to answer any questions that you may have. That said, I would now like to introduce you to George Outerbridge, Supervisor of Registration, and Ms. Maria Budrum, Assistant Registrar of Registration, who were instrumental in the design and build of the system from the Registrar of Companies perspective. George will be conducting the presentation of this webinar. But before I hand over to George, I'd just like to thank all of you for taking the time to attend this webinar, and any questions and issues that you may be raised, I'm sure George will cover during the course of this presentation. That being said, George, now on to you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, let's get a few housekeeping items out of the way first. During this webinar, as Ken said, we're going to be going over setting up an organization, setting up a user, update profile, authorizations, and online accounts. Throughout the webinar, you'll be able to submit your questions through the questions and answers tab. And we'll be answering those questions as we go along. There will also be a 15-minute questions and answers section at the end. So this webinar so the actual presentation will stop around 2 o'clock, and then we will walk through the questions. Any questions that we do not get through at that point in time will be compiled and added to a frequently asked questions page that will be added up later. So now that we got that out the way, you are currently viewing the Registrar of Companies online register. The register is designed to receive all submissions, applications that are required to be submitted to the Registrar of Companies through the portal. The register is entity-based, so the majority of things that you have on this, the majority of applications will be submitted from the context of the entity. In order to use the portal, you have to be a registered and logged in user. For those of you that are familiar with the Economic Substance Portal, this portal is actually built upon that. So if you have already registered your user and your organization, those will be carried over and will be available for use with the new portal. So you do not have to redo your logins and redo your user accounts. But for all new people that are coming in, we're going to start off with how to register on the system. So from here, you can either select the register button, login. So we're going to go from here. So from here, you can actually create your organizational account and your user account. By organization, that will be the firm that you work for. So if you have not set up your organization before, you can come into here and wish to create your organization. You can set up a username. So this part goes to your actual user. You would have to add your username, your password, your secret question and secret answer are optional. If you ever lose your password, you can actually get it reset straight through the portal. You would enter your information. Upload your proof of identity. As it states, only government issued photo identification documents that show your legal name and date of birth are acceptable. Expired documents are not acceptable. And the maximum document size you can upload is 20 megabytes. Select driver's license. The expiration date as stated must be in the future. Select done. And then you can put in your contact details. Now, throughout these, the system is designed to send out notifications of all submissions that are made. You will receive your certificates via notifications, and you will receive any receipts via notifications directly from the system. So this email address will be the email address that those documents will be sent to. Your physical address is optional. And not required. Now we actually go into setting up the organization. So, you can provide an additional organization for an additional email address for your organization. That would usually be a group email address, or you can enter in your email address if you are still if you're setting up utilizing one email address. The physical address is put in, and this is used throughout the system to pre-populate certain fields and your contact details for the organization. Once you have selected that, you select create organization. As you can see, if you have missed any data from inputting into the system that's required, you can actually enter that in. And this was required because like I said, this address is actually utilized throughout the system. And that is setting up your organization and setting up your user. So as you can see, I am logged in under my personal login, working for this organization. You can actually separate out. You can make filings under your personal login or on behalf of your organization, utilizing this tab. And from here, you can maintain the organization. So once you have your organization set up, you can actually go into here and add other organizational users to your organization. So from there, you can actually enter in your organizational users details. And that adds people to your organization. As you can see, the status is pending. They will receive an email at the address that you have provided here. And once that is done, and once they've received that email, they can follow the links. If they already have a user or a user account, they can use that to join this organization, or if not, they can actually set up as a new organization. Okay, and that is setting up a user and organization on the system. Next, we are going to go into the update profile service. During our migration from our existing systems to the new system, we have been compiling all of the information that we have and basically populating the new system's information with that information. In order to basically verify that we have the most up-to-date and most current information on an entity, we've initiated the update profile service, which works as like an audit of our information. So with that said, when you have logged in and registered as a user, prior to making any other submissions, such as changing a registered office, making any statutory filings, or making any of the other filings that you have to make, you would have to perform an update profile service. This includes making an economic substance declaration. So prior to making an economic substance declaration for this round, you would have to go in and perform the update profile service. Update profile service is also the initial way that you receive authorizations to make filings on behalf of an entity. So now we're going to go into actually performing the update profile service so you can see exactly what information is required. So from the services tab, this is where you would interact with the register. You can do search entities, you can search reserved names, and you can search payments that you have made. You can reserve an entity name and various registration services. Today, we're going to focus on the update profile service, and I'm using a test entity to demonstrate that to you. So this screen is the entity screen on our server. So from this screen is where you would do everything, where you would maintain the entity and make all filings. I stated prior to maintaining this entity, I would have to perform the update profile service. So you just click on the tab. Through there, you will walk through 6 tabs of information that's required. Here, and you would just complete all of the ones that have been required to be filled in. Some of them, if you select yes, such as this is the company bylaws. So if you select no, the drop down, the upload disappears. But if you select yes, an upload becomes available. So you will go down. Next is financial year-end date, business activity category, and the appropriate description, whether the company is performing any of the relevant activities, whether it's a parent company of a wholly owned exempted company that carries on insurance business defined in the Insurance Act, that has limited duration, and you would upload an authorization document. Now, this document is actually, we have templates that we've prepared, and those will be distributed out with a future release, which will be coming out each week for the webinars. And all this document is basically a document that confirms that you have authorizations to make filings on the Registrar of Companies portal for this entity. Once you have filled in all of the required information, you would hit continue, and you will see a green tick. That means that field is completed. Now on here, as you see, we have this tab, use my organization address. That is actually why when I was showing you the organization, why you have to submit that address. This tab will be available throughout the system to make it easier for you to actually to fill in fields where you are using your organizational address. And you will select that the register of members is the same as the registered office, and add a physical address. Continue, and as stated, like I said, each time you complete a tab, you would have a green tick. If you have not completed that fully, it would have a red exclamation mark, and you would have to go back to there and complete it prior to actually submitting the application. So from here, objects and provisions, objects for this company is formed and incorporated are unrestricted only. On here, you would add in any director's information. The director's register is being migrated. During this service, this will allow you to verify the information is fully correct, and during migration, some fields might get moved around. So this is your opportunity to look at this and make sure that everything is in order. Yeah. So you would just fill in all the fields. This email address is optional, and it will not be available in the public register. We are collecting additional information such as this because if someone has indicated that they are a director of a company, then we can in the future send them out notifications concerning the company. As you can see, I did not fill in all the fields on the tab, and it's brought up an exclamation mark, as well as notified me what is wrong, what is missing, and where I have to fix it. Into here. So everything looks fine now. Continue. Now here you would be able to verify that the share capital of the company is right, as well as the number of shares, the par value, issued share capital. If any of these are incorrect, this will be your opportunity to correct that. also at this stage is the company, a publicly listed company on the appointed stock exchange. And you can do an upload for your classes of shares. For that instance, that will be if you have multiple classes of shares that in the same denomination, you can upload that document here. And at the end of each service, you would have a chance to review all of the information that you have submitted. And then once you press submit, the application has been turned, you will receive a notification that the application has been sent for review. And the application will show up once it has been completed. It will actually show up in your completed filings. So once that update profile service has been completed, you will have authority to make additional filings on behalf of this entity. In addition, you will have access to all of the company's information, all of the filings that we have on our register. And other services will become available to you to make for that company. These services will be the focus of our future webinars. Okay, and that is Update Profile Service. That is a free service. There is no fee for submitting that service. And as stated, it is our way of ensuring that we have the most up-to-date and correct information on our register. Now, the Update Profile Service, as stated, is required for all existing entities on the register. So any company that was registered prior to June 7th, which is our go live date, will have to have the Update Profile Service performed prior to conducting any other services. Now, the Update Profile Service is the first way to receive authorization to make filings on behalf of an entity. There are other ways to receive authorization. And I'm going to go through some of those now. So this is an entity that I do not have authority over, but the Update Profile Service has been performed on this entity. So under the options available to me, I have change address details. So my organization has recently been appointed the registered office for this company, and I am going in to notify the registrar of companies as such. So under here, you would come in, you would enter in use your organizational address, because my organization is now the registered entity, is now the registered office. You would upload the authorization document, verifying that you have authorization to make filings on behalf of this entity. And as you can see, this gets sent to our internal staff for review to check your work in progress for updates. So as you can see, this has been sent in for review. Just waiting for that to go through. Also, throughout the depending on which services you are performing, you can actually save some of your applications and come back later for more complex applications. Now, as you can see, the application has been moved from my work in progress and is now in my completed folder. And now I have authorization over this entity, which means I have access to their information and also the ability to manage the entity. So that will be when you're changing a registered office, requesting authorization. The last way that you can get authorization is to request authority. So if you are not coming in to change to become the registered office for an entity, but you need authority to make a filing on behalf of that entity, select request authority. And in that instance, you would upload your authorization document, as well as confirm that you are legally authorized to file documents. And as stated, those go to internal review. And then once they are reviewed and approved, that would move out of the work in progress to your completed folder. Okay, I'm moving along a little bit faster than I was expecting, so we might have a little bit extra time for questions, because that was the bulk of the presentation. The last part of this presentation will be actually going over payments, how we're going to receive payments, and how you will be making payments for applications. So all of our payments are through Catalyst at this time will be done through individual accounts that will get attached to your organization or your users. So for on those ones, at this Teams, you will have your accounts Now, during our initial setup, our office will be working with individual organizations to set up any of your accounts on the system. All people that currently have accounts on our old system, we'll be moving all of those balances over to the new system. Now, if, like as stated previously, if you have already registered on the Economic Substance Portal and you already have an account on this portal, you do not need to set up a new user account or a new organizational account. So you can utilize that organizational account and, like I said, contact the registrar companies, because we will be verifying that people who have current accounts on our old system, which is where you go into currently do electronic searches, as well as the order certificates of compliance and such. We'll be working with the people that have accounts on there. Those user accounts will not be brought over, but we will be moving all of the debit accounts into this one. So at this point in time, as I stated, the accounts are the only way to make payments on our system. Those will be topped up via wire payments and also through notifications on the system. So the process will be, you would submit a wire to us. You will submit a wire to our bank accounts, and then go into the My Accounts tab and hit your top up account. And from there, you would tell us the amount that you wired over, as well as provide the reference. So the reference will be the wire transaction number that you received. Proceed to payment. Now from here, payment method will be electronic funds transfer. You provide the ETF reference and also the date that it was transferred. Hit continue. From here, you can download the payment receipt, which will also be sent to you by email. And once that payment has been verified on our system, verified as received in our account, an internal member of staff will approve it, and it will be available. It will be available in your balances. Now, to review your accounts, you can actually go to Services, Search, and search payments. And from here, you can review all of the payments that you have made to the registrar companies. So that would be fees, account payments. Baskets are groups of filings. For instance, when you do a registration, as you know, there are several fees you have to pay, such as the annual government fee, as well as the filing, as well as numerous filing fees. So those will be grouped into baskets. You can search for individual amounts, transaction dates, the status of that payment. You can search by receipt number, or you can just do a blank search, which will bring up all of the payments you have made through the system. And through each one, it actually shows you what that payment was for and takes you right back to each individual item. You can see every time you topped up your account. All right, backed out too much. And this can also be exported as a PDF or exported into Excel. Okay. And actually, that is the presentation for today. So I was actually, like I said, I moved through a little bit faster than I was expecting.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, George. That was a great presentation. We do have quite a number of questions. So let me see if I can read through some of them so we can use up the rest of the time in answering the questions. Do you need to update profile for existing companies, including uploading bylaws for existing companies? The registrar should already have copies of these bylaws.
I can answer that one, Maria.
Yep.
So the update profile service is required for all existing companies. That is how we are, that is required prior to making any filings. The bylaws, if you have already uploaded your bylaws, you do not have to upload it again. The bylaws they are being migrated, but they are not migrated at this point in time. But like as stated, if you have uploaded them already to the previous site, then you would not have to upload it. We are still verifying from that site, and those will be moved over at a later point in time. Now just to note for everybody, once we go live with the system on June 7th, the bylaw site will be taken down as well as the other sites that we have, and everything will be going on to here. So as of June 7th, if you have not uploaded your bylaws, then you would have to upload them through our new system.
Okay. Another question here. This one's probably for you as well, George. Does the new register have similar functionality with the economic substance portal that only one user can be in at the same time? We will have situations where two service providers will be assisting, one on corporate matters and one on economic substance.
As part of that, making sure we got the right terms and doing efforts to right. And then phase 2 of that will be looking at credit limits and making sure we got credit limits in program. And that is a collaboration with the.
I'm sorry, Maria, I could not
hear that
for a second there. What was that question?
Does the new register have similar functionality with like the economic substance portal, where you can that only one user can be in at the same time? They'll have situations where two service providers will be assisting, one on corporate matters and one on economic substance.
Okay. The problem with the economic substance portal was that was identified in that question. It was two people trying to utilize the same service. So that is not going to be a problem on this system, because unless for instance, if somebody came in and wanted to change the name of a company, they would be able to go in and select the service to change that name, and then complete it. Now, somebody else would not be able to go into that exact same service. That would create an error. But multiple people from an organization can utilize the system for different services. So you'll be able to, multiple people will be able to view multiple applications, multiple entities, as well as complete multiple services.
Okay, great. We've got a question here about the debit accounts. To confirm, if we have a current debit account, there is no need to set up an organization, as this will be moved over to the new system?
No. If you have a current debit account, the users on our old portal, as far and our old website, so not the economic substance declaration portal, the people on our old website, those user accounts are not being migrated. It's a completely different model. So for those people, they would have to go into the new system, set up their organization and their user, and then notify the registrar of companies that that they have set up and they have a debit account on their system, on the old system. And then we will work with them as far as migrating the remaining balances of those accounts over.
Okay. This next question, I'm pretty sure I can answer this one myself. Will we be able to search for information about an entity on this portal as a law firm doing company searches for information about entities, or do we still need to request information by email to the ROC? You will be able to request to do, in fact, you probably don't even have to request to do a company search. You'll be able to use the website to actually go in and search a company. We will be expanding and actually showing you that feature at a later webinar. And if you just refer back to the industry notice that we sent out on the 5 different webinars that we'll be holding, you should see where we actually have the searches booked in for, and you can get more information on searches then. So make sure you attend. Another question, can a user report on usage for a given period on account? Example, history of certificates ordered via the organization account.
Well, you could, I'm not sure what exactly the question is asking. As far as you can view all documents that have, all applications that have been submitted, as well as certificates that have been issued. I hope that answers. And as far as that, and by saying certificates being issued, that would be all certificates that are issued for any filings, as well as certificates of compliance that are ordered.
Okay. Can a list of questions asked in this session and their answers be sent out to the list of attendees? We'll have a posting of frequently questions asked and their answers, and that'll be posted on our government webpage. So you can actually get them there. When will we receive the authority letters or authorization letters, and will they have to be signed by a director of the company, as there will not be a lot of time after 7th of June to get these finalized before economic substance filings have to be submitted? So the authorization form will be sent out next week, along with another one of our industry notices. George, refresh my memory. I'm not sure. They actually haven't been finalized, the form, so I'm not sure whether, George, is it a director of the company that signs off on the form?
We are looking at actually having the organization confirm that they are authorized. So that's what. So it'll be the organization that's requesting authority signing the forms.
Okay. With respect to the uploading of the bylaws, kindly clarify that you are acquiring the full bylaw as opposed to the extract that has been filed. No, we only just need the extract. We don't need the full bylaws. Yep.
I might have breezed through that part a little bit too fast on there. There was actually a section above that shows you exactly that specifies that we are requesting certified extract as required under Section 13 of the Companies Act.
Okay. If someone has a user account with an organization and is either leaving or retiring, who can disable the user account? The individual leaving or the person managing the organization's account?
Both can. So so the system is designed that you can carry your personal account. So you can go in and modify it as well. You can go in and change the address. The person in charge of the organization, so the administrator, can remove people from that organization as well.
Okay. Will the filing of the economic substance declaration be affected by this new register? Yeah, new register.
The difference between this one and the economic substance declaration, the economic substance declaration filing is not changing. The method of obtaining authority to make that filing has changed. As you know, previously there was the locate entity screen where you entered in the name and registration number and the incorporation date of the entity, and then you selected on it to actually start the filing. That authority model is being replaced by the full company's register authority model, which you would receive through one of the methods that I showed just now. So once you have completed that, you can go in and complete the economic substance declaration. A further note concerning economic substance declaration, as stated before, the companies and partnership register is going right on top of that current system. So as we work to bring the new system online, the economic substance portal becomes a part of the new system. So that is why any declarations that have been started prior to our go live date, prior to June 5th, which is the cutoff, if they are submitted prior to that date, then they have been received and there's no further action. If you have not completed and submitted the declaration by that date, when we move over our data, the incomplete and not submitted declaration will be deleted and you will have to start over. So that is why it's imperative that if you have started, you get it completed prior to June 5th. And if you do not anticipate that you would have all the information required to submit it prior to June 5th, that you wait until June 7th when the new system comes online to complete your application.
Okay. Our organization has an account under the economic substance portal. Will we just need to add any new users to the account once the system goes live? Can we start adding new users now?
Great question. I would love everyone to start setting up their user accounts and their organizational accounts now, so that gives us less steps to complete once the system's live. Any registered users or organizations on the economic substance portal will all be carried over. The one thing that we have to allocate afterwards is to assign each organization that requires a debit account.
Okay.
So feel free to go into our current portal and start setting up your organizations. Start and making sure all of the users that are required to make filings with us or conduct searches, request certificates, any sort of interaction with the registrar of companies, in that manner will be done through the system. So make sure they all have their user accounts set up and ready to go for June 7th.
Okay. Okay, I think I don't see any other new questions. So it looks like we're wrapping it up just a little early. So I want to thank everyone for attending this webinar. If you do have other questions that you think of, feel free to email myself or George. Oh, wait a minute, there's another question. If someone has a registered economic with a different, okay, so if someone has has registered on economic substance portal, but it will be a different party, i.e. corporate service provider registering on the corporate site. If the economic substance portal user access the system first, are they expected to do the profile check?
Yes, if in order to make an economic substance declaration filing or any other filing, the update profile service must be completed first. So that would be what's required in order to make to receive authorization to make any filings on the system.
Okay, there's actually another question here, which I think you've already answered, George, but just in case, can you export the payment transaction list? And I believe you said yes, right?
Yes. And just going through to I just saw another question that just to clarify everything up and make it easy. The economic substance filing declaration date is still June 30th. So I was just referring to another answer because somebody was worried that we had moved up the filing date. No, the filing date is still June 30th for all companies with financial year end date of December 31st, 2020. All I was saying is that if you have started an economic substance declaration or start one prior to the 5th of June, then any incomplete ones will be deleted as we do the migration over to the new system. But you will still be able to go in on June 7th and start a new declaration with the due date of June 30th.
Okay, looks like we're receiving some more questions. When will the webinar be held with more information about this? I couldn't find it on the industry notice. There will be a repeat webinar, the exact same thing we've spoken about, we've had today, next week, Wednesday. Like I said, it'll be a repeat of this one, just in case there were people that didn't get a chance to actually sign up. So if you're interested in listening again, then you can certainly feel free to sign up for next week's industry webinar. Are you going to send on how to use a new system as one of my colleagues is unable to attend? Again, we have a number of different webinars scheduled during the course of the next 5 weeks. So they're certainly free to attend any of those, and the webinars will be recorded and posted, and we'll be sending out the link where you can find all that information. Are all companies now required to have debit accounts, whereas it was previously the CSP that had the debit account?
Okay, just to clarify that up, the debit account gets attached to your organization, which is different from the entity. So as stated, CSPs or any organization that is registered on our system that wishes to make any filings or request any documents, request searches, etc., they will have the debit accounts, not the actual entities. Now, your debit account can be used for any entity to make filings or request any documents for any entities across the entire register.
Okay. Is shareholder information part of the entity verification process?
But I'm assuming that meant the update profile service. And by share, we have the shareholdings information, such as the amount of share capital is part of it. but shareholder information. We do not maintain that data at the registrar companies. Like, we don't receive that information.
For clarity, an ESD filing after the portal update means more work is required by way of updating company profile info. Correct?
Well, as you saw, that was basically going in and verifying the information. So the update profile service, the majority of that information will be brought over. As I stated, the director's register is being migrated over. The share capital information is being migrated over. The registered office information is being migrated over. And that service is just there to basically to make sure that we have received all of the correct filings and there is nothing outstanding. That was our way of basically auditing our information to make sure that we had the most up-to-date and correct information. So yes, the update profile service will need to be completed prior to making an economic substance declaration as of June 7th, because that is the way to receive authorization to make that filing.
Okay. I think there's just a couple of more questions. We've got about 15 minutes left, so if you need more questions, please get them in. Do updated profiles need to happen for entities that don't require an economic substance declaration?
As stated, the update profile service is required for every entity that exists on the register prior to June 5th. And that is required to be submitted in order to gain authority over that entity, to make filings on its behalf. So every entity, if you have to change anything with that company, you would have to come in and do an update profile service first.
This is more of a, well, I guess it's a question. I appreciate webinars and links to webinars, but a guidance manual would be useful if it's available. No, we're not actually producing a guidance manual. All of these webinars will be recorded and posted, so you can always refer back to that. And the actual system will have areas that will sort of guide you in the process and that will offer help.
And we're actually doing we instead of doing a manual which you will flip through, we're going to have more of a video manual. So we're going to be providing videos of specific services that you conduct with our system. And the system is designed to be intuitive. So nothing's hitting on the system. Everything's very easily laid out, and it's designed that way on purpose so that you can come in and find exactly what you need in the least amount of time. And with the most ease of use.
Is there a deadline to do an update profile if we have filed before the implementation of the new system?
There is no deadline to do the update profile. As stated, the update profile is basically it's a service that allows us to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information and that nothing has been missed throughout the years for certain entities. So there is no deadline. I would advise everyone to go in and verify this information as soon as possible, because as you know, when an urgent application needs to be submitted, at that point in time, you would have to perform the update profile service. So if that's already done, then you can just go right in and actually make your filing.
Okay, I understand that the new online register is available to registered users only. So what will the public have access to? Is there a separate site that pulls everything together for them, or is the Directors Register the only thing that is free to the public?
Once this system comes online, the Directors Register becomes part of it. So the Directors Register will actually become part of an entity's records that you will have to perform a search of. As far as registered users, anyone can register on our system as a registered user. So this is available to the public as well. And as stated, so if you wish to come on and register just to do searches of files, searches of entities, then that's all your user account will be used for. But it is open. The system is open to all.
Will there be a shiny new format for certificates of compliance?
We will be. There will be. We're actually we revamped all of our certificates. As of June 7th, there's a new format that will be released, and we can actually provide an example of that in one of our future industry notices. So as stated, we're to be sending out additional industry notices. I will be sending out one each week, and that will contain all of the contain all of the updates. I will attach additional information to that, and also as we proceed, the registration links will be replaced with a link to the previously held webinar on that notice.
There's another question here, I believe, on authorization, just to clarify the authorization form. So based on the earlier question regarding CSPs, is the structure going to be CSP is the organization and all of the entities for which it provides administrative services under the CSP organization, and individuals employed by the CSP are users under the CSP organization?
Yeah, pretty much correct. Yeah, so the organization will be this. So you set up the organization, the CSP as the organization, and then all of those users have access to make filings on behalf of the entity working for that organization.
Okay. Under the new filing system, will there be an option to request expedited processing?
That is one of the things that we're looking into. We're working on getting, our main focus right now is getting out this launch. And then once we have this launch out, and we have the industry as well as ourselves used to the new way of doing things, then we will look into other processes we can provide.
Do we really need to completely shut down the ROC for the week?
Okay, during currently right now we are still operating as per normal. We are receiving multiple applications and processing.
George, just let me interject quickly. Okay. The decision to shut down the ROC, and apologies, this is Kenneth joking speaking. The decision to shut down the ROC for the week wasn't taken lightly. The reality is for us, we are resource constrained. This is a major systems implementation, obviously with huge jurisdictional impact. And so to ensure that we get the most efficient transfer of data and that the system is running at its optimal capacity June 4th, we thought it was not only prudent, but the best thing for the jurisdiction to take a pause so that we get this right. There are no second bites at the apple with this. So I would say, yes, it was absolutely necessary. Sorry, George, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Ken. You just covered exactly what I was getting at.
Okay. Don't see any more questions. Oh, here's another one. Sorry. What if the entity update contains an error?
If the update contains an error, then you can change it in the update profile service, which then goes for review. And then the registrar of companies will work with you to try to ensure that we get that error rectified, whether it was a misfiling, whether it was whatever the situation is. That is the whole purpose of the update profile service, to ensure that all of our records going forward from the date that that's performed is accurate in a historical sense.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left before we wrap up. There's a couple of more questions here. Reorg question. Everyone under an organization can see all. So if we have mutual clients between CSP and lawyers / insurance managers, how do we not see any entities that are not mutual?
Okay, going back to the authorization model. So you should not be setting, your client shouldn't be set up under your organization as users. That is not how the system's designed to allow people that are authorized to make filings on behalf of the entity. But as far as other individuals that are not working with the organization, they should not be set up as users under your organization.
Hi, this is Amy Mullen with Foster Moore. I'd also like to chime in there that you can be a member to more than one organization as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Amy. If we include directors' email addresses, will they receive all communication from the ROC, including any irrelevant info?
I think all of our information is relevant. But like I said, at this point in time, we are not sending out individual notifications. But that would be anybody who sets up as a user will receive our notifications. They would receive notifications on submissions, on their own individual submissions, not everybody's submissions, and notices that go out concerning matters that the registrar of companies wishes to bring to the attention of our users, of our registered users.
Is there a reason you didn't wait until after economic substance filing deadline, June 30th, to implement this? Ken, I don't know if you want to chime in here.
Yeah, because the two systems run independently, one, it doesn't impact. The other part that we're conscious of for economic substance filing, we are still working under the constraints that are given to us by the OECD and the EU. And so there's an expectation that the economic substance regime still continues its momentum. Additionally, again, with the system, we've hit a critical path in terms of our ability to operate effectively. And so in terms of timing windows and opportunity to implement at the right time, this was the best window that we had given other commitments that are going on within the department.
Okay, thank you. If clients should not be set up as users, do lawyers have to submit economic substance declarations on their behalf. Okay, so we're not really, the economic, if you have any sort of questions on economic substance declarations, you can certainly send them to the head of our compliance section, especially as it relates to any type of a filing question. Anything to do with that, and that's FA.Daniels@gov.bm. We want to try and just limit the questions to what was covered in the webinar today. Oh, and George, the dates for actually ROC shutdown, we just need to confirm, are May 27th to June 7th. Is that correct?
That is correct. Or May 27th to, and then the new system comes online on June 7th. On June 7th, we will be accepting the majority of applications through the new system, and that will be the only way we will be accepting them. So there are certain applications that are not being included in this release. That will be included at a later date, and those applications will be identified in a future industry notice. By future, I mean the one that comes out weekly.
Okay. And one last question, is there a way of retracting an upload after it's been submitted?
Of what, as far as retracting?
So I'm assuming they mean once they've uploaded a submission, can they retract it? I mean, once it's uploaded, I'm assuming they're talking about the application.
Yeah. Now, if an application has been submitted and an internal staff member can send it back to you, but there is no way for you to pull back a submitted application. So that's why it's very important to make sure that when you're making filings that everything is accurate and correct before you hit the submit button. That's an added benefit of the review stage. So you don't just see the information when you're putting it in. You actually get a chance to go through and review all of the information you put in prior to submitting it.
Okay, great. So our time is up. I want to thank everyone for joining us here. If you do have any more questions that you need answered, or if we missed your question, you can certainly send any questions to either myself or George, and that's ggouterbridge@gov.bm or mboudram@gov.bm. And again, we'll be posting the most frequent questions and answers up on the government website. We'll let you know when that gets done. So again, thank you, and we'll see you at the next seminar.